Welcome, everyone. It's Tuesday, and we are here. Yes, indeed, we are. I read last night. I wish I didn't know about the law. It's too big. It's I don't know. That's what I read last night. And I thought to myself, hmm, hmm, I understand where you're coming from. And they're not the only person who feels that way. Many people feel that way. That knowing the existence of the principles is too much of a burden to bear. But if you think about it, the bigger burden, as I try to look at it in a particular way. Look at the world. There are many things we can say about the world right now. It's this, it's that, it's the next, it's the third, it's blah. Like, there's so much we could say about the world. But can you imagine if you did not have the knowledge to apply? The world would overwhelm. Let me say it again. Can you imagine if you did not have the principles to apply deliberately? This world would overwhelm us. Look at the world and how many people in the world are, quote unquote, suffering. And how many people feel hopeless. How many people feel worthless. Can you imagine not knowing the principles and applying them and having to live with that for the rest of your existence? Oh, God, no. The very fact that you know the principles and can apply them lifts a burden, let me tell you. Indeed, it does. To know that you don't have to take a diagnosis, to know that you don't have to take rejection. You don't have to. Well, I was rejected twice last night. Oh, yes, I was. And now I'm sitting here thinking, well, Angela, now what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm not sure what I want to do just yet. Let me see if I can gain some clarity on the situations. What do I want to do? You got somebody in your ear telling you, you can't win. You can't. It is an impossible task, is what you're being told. Can you imagine if you didn't know the principles or how to apply them, that you would have to stay with that prediction? And in reading this person's note, it wasn't someone who wrote to me, by the way. Um, I just happened to be reading it. I came across the post and I was going to comment, and I thought, I don't know how to comment on this just yet because it's so much to say and to explain. I just didn't want to type it out. God, I just can't handle that. But in other words, the title may well have been Ignorance is Bliss. But is it? Listen to what the word ignorance means. You know something, but you ignore it. Hmm? You know something, but you are ignoring it. That is ignorance. Noscience means you don't know. You are unaware of the situation, of the thing. You see, sometimes we feel like it is too much work to know the principles. You're responsible. I think part of their post said it felt like it was too much power. And I'm like, you have a distorted view of power. You have a distorted view of power. Because we think power means to rule or to lord over someone and make them do what you want them to do. No, that is not power. That is tyranny. Power is, what do I want to be? Let me see what I can do with my life. I have the what now? Skill and the strength to change my circumstance. That is true power. To make a change in one's own life. Not to be a bully and lord over someone else and tell them what to do. That's not power. In the Matrix, she goes, well, what do all men with power want? More power. Allegedly, power becomes addictive. It becomes heady. Now imagine that, but for your own life, where you look at a situation, you go, you cannot defeat me. That's what you tell your situation. Can you imagine if you did not know the principles? Your problems, look at how us now that we know the principles and we deliberately apply them. Look at us sometimes when we go, oh my God, whew, this is too much. I feel overwhelmed by my situation. And you know how to use the principles, but that's how you feel sometimes, right? Can you imagine not knowing the principles and how to apply them? And you had a problem? Oh, Lord. That would be worse. It would be worse. They say it's too much responsibility. Whose responsibility should it be for you to look upon your life? Oh, it should be yours. It should be yours, not someone else. You see, when you relinquish your power, your strength to someone so that they can rule over you, you are at their mercy. You are at their every whim. Why? Because you don't know what they have planned for you. You don't know what they have planned. One day it could be yay. The next day it could be dun, dun, dun. You don't know. That is why the principles exist truly. To give you the power of self-governance. So that you can look at your life and go, well, I don't quite like that. So let me see how I can modify this. Because at least you know your intentions for your life are not nefarious. Think about that. You know that your plans for your own life are not nefarious, nor are they insidious, but they're pleasant and they're good. This is why it is important that we uphold that freedom for ourselves. Your freedom is not a burden to you. You see, when people do not comprehend that the principles are an everyday part of our existence, or they think, oh, you only use it for this, or you only use it for that. No, you use it every day. It's daily. And because you're using it every day, you get used to it. You become accustomed to doing it. Old hat. A habit formed to do the same thing in the same way every time. But because they do not comprehend the principles, they're like, well, I have the power to destroy someone. I'm like, you do? You have the power to destroy somebody, do you? Is that what you is that what you think you're doing? You have the power to destroy yourself. You sure do. Whether you knew you had the power to destroy yourself or not, you still have the power. Oh, hello? Whether you know that you have the power to quote unquote destroy yourself, or you do not know, you still have the power. is an automatic thing that is given to us. It's nothing one can earn. You have it. You just don't know. You do not know. And because people don't know that they have it, they think, you know, what if I hurt someone? You'll learn, and you'll learn very quickly. The principles teach you that fast. Don't worry. But not in a brute force or punishing kind of way. I kind of sort of alluded to it yesterday when I mentioned about forgiveness. I think this was just on the fan base side of things when we had come to a close, but lots of people say, well, I cannot forgive this person because of ... I can't forgive that person because of ... The problem with holding unforgiveness, it has nothing to do with someone else. Imagine, if you will, you're holding unforgiveness in your bosom. You and I, we're holding this unforgiveness, right? And we're looking out through the mire of unforgiveness. The windows of our lives are muddied and grimy with unforgiveness. Everything you look at is tainted with unforgiveness. So who is it affecting? The thing that you're looking at, or the one doing the looking? If you are looking out the window and that window is grimy, the sun hits it and you're like, oh, I can't see. And that is unforgiveness. Everything you look at is going to be dirty. It will have the appearance of being dirty, but it is not dirty. It is just what you are looking through that is dirty. So it doesn't matter who and what you look at, so long as that window is clouded and grimy with unforgiveness, everything now that you are looking at appears to be dirty. At the end of the day, if you want to see clearly, you got to get out there with the vinegar water and a piece of newspaper and clean the window. Why? Because once you clean the window, what do you see? And now you see clearly, don't you? So you must remember that the things we hold on to, as we look out into the world through that lens, through that window, that's what we'll see. You know how they tell you, oh, stop seeing the world through rose-colored lenses. Meaning you're seeing everything and everything is beautiful. Oh, because everything isn't. Take those rose-colored lenses off. Same principle applies. So whatever it is you're harboring only affects you, not the other person. It has nothing to do with another. It is you. So you see that kind of quote unquote power to know that if I hold something, it is irrelevant what I hold. What I hold, I will always see and experience. And do I want to experience and see it? Simple question. So why would that be a burden? Shoot, that removes the burden. Because if you did not know that you had to clean your own window before what you could look at would change, we go through life with the burden of bitterness, the burden of rage. That's what she said to me yesterday. She goes, Angela, I can hear how upset you are. I said, no, I'm not upset. I said, I am enraged. Because I was. I was enraged at the quote unquote injustice. And as I was looking out through the lens of injustice, the more angry I became. And I asked her, I said, why is it that the good guy gets penalized, but the bad guy is somehow rewarded. And as I'm saying this to her, all I can hear in the back of my head is the principles. So we gonna take that as the answer? Is that really what you want? What is it that you want? That's all I heard in the back of my head. And try as I might, I couldn't silence it. I couldn't. It made me check myself. Do you want that? I know that you're upset. But who are you upset with? Why did you go along with it? Why did you let it happen? It's okay. And by the end of that conversation, I sat for a bit, literally fuming. But all the while, the principles are in the back of my head, churning. What do you want? How do you want this situation to play out? You see, can you imagine not having those principles to apply? Well, I'd be stuck. I'd be stuck if I did not have those principles to apply. And no, I don't want to live a life that is stuck. There's nothing worse than that. It breeds hopelessness and despair. And none of us want that at all. So you see, it is not the fact that the principles are too heavy, a burden. Oh, my girl always used to say, heavy is the head that wears the crown, Angela. She always says that. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Yeah, it can be. But heavier are the shoulders that bear the burden of not knowing. You understand? The burden of not knowing leaves one in a place of darkness. And when you are in a place of darkness, all you do is stumble about. But the principles and their application turns on a beacon, a light that penetrates even the heaviest of darknesses. And once you turn it on, that's it. You can't turn it off again. That's what he said. He goes, in the Matrix, he goes, when Neo says, I can't go back, can I? And Morpheus says to him, no, but would you want to? Why? Why would you choose darkness? And I'm not talking because everything emerges from the darkness. That's not the same darkness as not knowing. The womb is dark because that is where creation is unfolding. But the darkness of not knowing is different. See? The darkness of not knowing is a far worse place to be. So when you learn the principles, what principles, you ask? Mentalism. The all is mind, not brain. Brain is an organ. Mind is the power, the essence that runs. In other words, you and I are aware, are we not? You are aware that you're in this space right now. Shoot, you could be aware and saying, she crazy. What's she talking about? But you are aware of saying, she crazy. You're aware of that. We all have the exact same awareness. Of what? Yourself. Your existence. That is mentalism. Correspondence as within, so without, as above, so below. And we see it every day. You see, when you look at the tree on the outside, I was pruning my trees in the backyard. Those branches look dead, you know. But they are not. The roots are alive underneath to sustain. So as above, you got a root system of life below. It is also above with the leaves and the blossoms and the fruit. As within, so without. The seed you put into the ground is the only thing that will come out of that seed. Vibration, well, everything is moving. And how do you know it's moving? You see, before you plant your seeds, they appear to be dead. They are alive. And they're moving very slowly, mind you. You can't see their motion, but they are. And if you stimulate them by putting them in dirt, wet dirt, you'll begin to see their movement. They burst forth. Indeed, they do. So everything is moving. It may look or appear to be dormant and not moving, but it is. Nothing stands still. And it is always moving by way of polarity. Not opposite. The mango seed is not opposite the mango fruit, as in different. They're not different. They are the same. This is why love and hate are the same. Think about it. You see in the news all the time, especially in France when they have the crime of passion. They love you so much they choke the life out of you. Oh, that is love. But they hate you so much they choke the life out of you as well. The outcome is the same. Love and hate are the same. It is just a matter of what degree of intensity are you dealing with. That's how you'll know. And you will also know through the principle of rhythm. The way something moves, it moves in a pattern, a habit, if you will. We all have them. And it moves through that rhythm. So that when you see the rhythm, you memorize the rhythm, you know what you're looking at. Oh, that's a rose. Oh, that's a tulip. Oh, that's a carnation. Oh, those are mangoes. Oh, that's corn. The rhythm tells you what you're looking at because of the way it behaves. And the way it behaves will do what? Cause and effect. Every cause has its effect and every effect its cause, thus making things predictable. Predictability brings comfort. And I know lots of people say, oh, but you shouldn't be in your comfort zone. That's not the same thing. If you look at the predictability of something and you say, look, it's going to happen this way every time, well, then you know how to act, do you not? Comfort, that's a comfort. To know that you're going to get that outcome. You're not going to be surprised. You're not going to be left not knowing. So when you bring about the cause and the effect, it takes us right into gender, meaning generation. To generate an idea and to project it outward is masculine. You have to project the seed of your thought into the womb of creation, which is feminine. And what does the womb of creation do? The only thing a womb does is give form to the seed planted within it. You see the principle of rhythm? You know what a womb does. Whether it's the womb of the earth, the womb of an elephant, the womb of a woman, the womb of a cat, the womb of a chicken, they all do the exact same thing. They give form to the seed planted within. That is the nature, the rhythm, the habit, the pattern of the womb, so that every time you look at a womb of anything, you know what to expect, and thereby it brings one what? Comfort, peace of mind. Can you imagine if one day you woke up and the womb did not bring forth the form that was put in it? We'd panic. So you see, that comfort is not the same as comfort zone. Don't get those two things conflated. Those principles, living by them, will tell you how your life will turn out. There will be no surprises. There is a peace that comes. Scripture says a peace that surpasses what? All understanding. Imagine not knowing the principles deliberately. You'd have no peace. There would be constant worry and fretting and agitation. And that is not how I want to live my life. I've had enough of that, let me tell you. I got a PhD in worry, so I know. I earned that. I put the time in for that, and I can look at it and go, ugh, time to retire you. Think about that for a moment. Look at the freedom that the principles give you. I heard this woman, she was talking to, she was giving a testimony. Her and her husband had wanted a baby. And at the sonogram, the doctor said, ooh, if I were you, I would abort this baby because it is not thriving. It is deformed. He gave her all the reasons based on the sonogram. And she went home and she cried and she went to the beach and she sat there and she said, God, you told me this is my baby. So if you told me this is my baby is perfect. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you she wasn't scared. Of course she was scared. Who wouldn't be scared? But she was anchored in something. She was anchored in a belief that God is faithful. That was the belief. And so long as God is faithful, I will take comfort in the faithfulness of God. And I will lean on that faithfulness. That's what she did in spite of her fear. See, this is what the principles do for us. Anywho, she goes back and she says to the doctor, I'm not going to abort my baby. And the doctor goes, whew, that's great because that was the wrong sonogram. So imagine then that you're given not so pleasant news and you have nothing by which you are anchored to. See how much that, just to even think about it hurts, eh? See what I'm saying? But to know that you're anchored in the principles, because the principles are not man-made. They are man-observed. How do I know? Put the seed in the ground and tell me that I came up with that. No, man just learned husbandry, meaning planting food. Man just learned that when you plant something, it grows. That's what man learnt. But you see, man stops there. They don't go beyond what they learn to ask, who taught it? Where did it come from? How can I apply it in my everyday life, not just my backyard garden? See, man just stops with, well, you reap what you sow. But dig a little deeper. You gotta dig a little deeper. Find out what you need. Sorry. Princess and the Frog. Listen, there's a song for just about everything. But we have to dig a little bit deeper. When you dig a little bit deeper, yes, you begin to grasp the meaning of things. Some people ask, well, what's the purpose of life? To live. The purpose of life is to live. The purpose of food is to eat it. It's nourishment, is it not? But we keep looking. And when we find that the principles are there, now we're scared to use them. As the young people will say, don't be scared. There's nothing to be afraid of. You have now within you the ability to change your life, to change the trajectory of your life. Look at how many people in the world suffer, quote unquote, with mental illness. According to census or whatever in the city, they're saying that most of the homeless people are suffering a mental illness or an addiction of some sort. You know why that is? Because my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Knowledge. The knowledge of the principles. You do not have to remain and wallow in the stench of depression. If you see it as what it is a habit. Habitually? How is depression a habit, Angela? I might have to call you out on that one, Angela. Depression is not a habit. It isn't? What are you entertaining? What kinds of thoughts are you entertaining over and over and over again? And if you entertain those thoughts over and over and over again, and you embody the mood of depression, do you know, according to the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, your body chemistry changes to match your mood, your thoughts. So this is why when we entertain depression, because we don't forget, do we? We remember all of the things that have happened to us. And my God, some of the things are vile and atrocious. And hurt me just to think about what someone had to endure. But you see the principles? When you apply the principles to that situation, you will begin to realize that the more I sit in the darkness, the darker it becomes, the heavier it becomes, until I begin to seek a reprieve. And the reprieve that we seek from darkness is not life, is it? That's why any behavior that you do all the time in the same way is a habit. But if you don't know that it is a habit, and you don't know how you make a habit, and here's the funny thing, we already know how to make habits. We know how to make habits. Any one of us, you go to yoga class, you go to karate class, you go to this class, that class, the next. You do the same thing the same way every time. And if they call it a fancy word, muscle memory is a habit. It is a habit. And once you know how to make them, because you do not break them, hello? You don't break habits, you make new ones. Oh, okay, so if you say, well, I don't want to smoke anymore, what do you want to do instead? You have to do something different. You're doing something different. You're not interested in what you stopped. What have you done differently? So we only make habits. So to make a habit is to pick up an activity and do it the same way every time until it does what? Becomes muscle memory. So when you're looking at things like, and because people don't really understand in the West that depression and anxiety are effects, they're not causes, they are effects. So when they look at the effects, because they don't know that they're looking at an effect, they don't know to go to the cause. Hmm. Somebody asked me, how did I know that? Because she wrote in and they were talking about she felt better after treatments, after acu. Her anxiety was less. And I said, well, that's because you were dealing with a blood deficiency. And they're correcting it. That's why your anxiety diminished. The anxiety is not the problem. The anxiety, good morning, handsome. The anxiety is showing you the evidence. Anxiety is not a cause, it is an effect. Remember, you would want to think that that's just a body issue. It is not a body issue. It is a mood issue. You see, the spleen makes blood in Eastern medicine, TCM. It makes. In the West, we say it stores, but it makes. But the very thing that depletes that function or disrupts that function of the spleen is excessive worry depletes the spleen. And if excessive worry is depleting the spleen, there's not enough blood made and not enough blood being sent to the heart. The heart houses the what now? Mind. What is mind again? Your awareness of self. The seat of your allegedly consciousness. You know, the heart. That's what they're always telling you. You got to go to the heart of the matter. But the heart houses the mind. If the heart does not have sufficient blood, it cannot anchor the mind. Thus, it is up and floating, and when something is not anchored, it is not rooted in something, anxiety sets in. You see, all ailments start mentally. I'm going to let that hang there for a minute. All ailments start mentally. But what we do in the West is we look at the effect and try to break the effect. You cannot break the effect. You have to change the cause. So when you're living in this world, if you do not deliberately know those principles and how to apply those principles, the world can overwhelm you. And some people say, well, I don't know those principles and I'm just fine. I'm like, I get it. You don't know them deliberately, but you can't live any other way than by principle. The only way to live is through principle because that's what supports life, the principles. You reap what you've sown day in and day out. You cannot not live by way of principle. So we're always living by way of principle, whether we know it or we don't know it. That is how we live. Because I don't plant mangoes and get peaches. We always live by principle. So the sooner we can remember that portion. And I told you yesterday, even if you remember just one of them, mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. If you remember just one of them, you are going to live by all of them because they're not independent of the other. So I know we would like to think that heavy is the head that wears the crown. I know we'd like to think that to know the principles is somehow a burden. But it is not a burden. Because if you look at the alternative, then you'll begin to understand what a burden is. Oh, you think you have burdens? Walk through the world without knowledge. Now you know burden. So, my beautiful friends, begin to comprehend truly that the principles are there and they're always on and they run so seamlessly and smoothly in the background that we don't even think they're there. But when you see them, can't unsee them, nah, but become curious and begin to test yourself. Well, how can I use that principle? You know what? I really like cause and effect. How am I going to use that in my everyday life, like at my job? How do I use cause and effect? Well, if you don't know the cause, but you know the effect you want, what effect would you like in your job? What kind of an experience would you like in your job? That's the effect. And you begin to toy with it and say, what if I dot 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 in my job? What if I did that? Yeah. You start to play around with it a little bit. Say, yeah, what if I did that? Whatever that thing is you want to do in your job, only you know. Say, well, yeah, what if I did that? Now, I know that that's what I want. I don't even know what the cause would be. I just know that's what I want. Now, here's the good news. Here's the anchor for you. If you know the effect, the cause emerges. Why would the cause emerge? Because they don't travel separately. They are companions. Cause and effect travel together. So if you know the cause, you can bring about the effect. And if you know the effect, you will bring about the cause. So it doesn't matter which one of those things you think oh no, which one do I want to go? It doesn't matter. Pick one and the other unfolds. And you'll begin, once you start to practice it and test it out and tease it out, something begins to happen to you. You begin to change. Like Saul on the road to Damascus, when he was blinded, the scales started to fall from his eyes. That's what happens to you when you start to deliberately use the principles. The scales of not knowing begin to fall from your eyes. And when that light penetrates, the light of knowledge, when it penetrates you, it is a most glorious thing. So you see, my beautiful friends, you don't have to sit and fret. You could be like the prodigal son. Oh, Angela, how come you talk about the Bible so much? Because I learned living through Bible stories. What good is a Bible story if you don't know how to apply it? What did the prodigal son do? He said, Daddy, I want my inheritance. I'm leaving. So his father said, certainly. And he gave him his inheritance. My man went out and he blew his inheritance. Fast cars and hookers. And, one could only presume. Listen, you got to tell that story. Right? The prodigal son, he went out and he was living it up, right? That's what he was doing. Every day he'd be living it up. That's what he did. And when the money ran out, so did his friends. And nobody fed him. So what did he do? He had to go and compete with the pigs just to eat. And then one day, as he was sitting in the sty of the pigs, he said, wait a minute, what the hell am I doing? My daddy got a lot of money. Let me go home. He ain't gonna refuse me. The prodigal son got up out of the pig pen. Now, let me tell you something, Linda. You know how he smelled, right? Mm, it was not a good smell. But he said, I don't care. I am going home because I don't have to live like this. And the light of knowledge went on because he remembered what he came from. He remembered that he was the one to say, give me my inheritance. So he knows his daddy is rich. And so he got up and he went home. And his father saw him in the distance and said, oh, there's my baby. Go kill the fatted calf and prepare a feast and get the robes and wash that boy. That's what his daddy did. How do you apply that story to your life? Well, look at us. We have this inheritance called life. And we live it up. We go out and we do and we have a good time and something happens. And some way through this thing called living, we forget. We forget that, wait a minute, I've come from abundance. We forget that we've come from abundance. And because we forgot we came from abundance, that's what makes us sit with pigs. Meaning we sit in the squalor and misery of life. That's what we do. But then a remembrance begins to happen. You say, wait a minute, there's abundance all around me. How do you know there's abundance all around you? Because his father gave it to him. The story is showing you that you've been given something that is abundant. Life. You've been given abundant life. And all we have to do, like the prodigal son, you get up and you acknowledge the fact that you came from abundant life. And that's all he did. And the story tells you that he was seen coming from a distance. And because he was seen coming from a distance, abundance was prepared for him. So what does that story tell you? That story tells you all you have to do is remember that you have abundance. Remember it and turn toward, but that's what he did. He turned towards his father to go home. That's all he did. That's what you and I get to do. That's how you apply that story. But you know, the story is never fun without the antagonist, which is his brother. You know, his fellow human. His brother was like, wait a minute. You went and blew all the money that daddy gave you. Now you expect that daddy's going to take you back? Ah. Not only did daddy take him back, daddy made a feast. And the older brother was mad. He said, I stayed here this whole time. And you've never done anything like this for me. But you know what the older brother forgot? That he never left abundance. He was always living in it. So he had nothing to lose. He was always in it. And sometimes when we forget that we are living in the abundance, we take it for granted and we begin to resent the people who come into the knowledge of it. That's what we do. But that's all right. You notice in the story, the father didn't punish the older brother for being a jerk. He said, nah, he just forgot who he was, that's all. So you see, my beautiful friends, that is how you apply the story. Because at one point in our lives, all of us, we sat with the pigs because we forgot. So you see, all we did was forget. And because we forgot, sometimes we can feel ashamed. But look at the prodigal son. He did not allow shame. How do you know he did not allow shame to cloud his judgment? Because he got up and he said, oh, my father has money. I'm going home. And there was no place for him to bathe. So he went home with the stench of the world on him. And he had no shame. Because you should not have shame. Shame prohibits us from change. We've all done dumb shit. All of us. And now is not the time to wallow in the shame of it. Get up. And you turn towards the memory that I've come from abundance and I will be welcomed back. And he did it with what? Boldness. You can't smell that bad and then go. Think about it. Think about it. This is why it was a pigsty that was used as the analogy in the story. Because sometimes, listen, there ain't nothing smell as. And I grew up in the Caribbean and we had neighbors upwind who had pigs, and Lord have mercy. When that stuff gets in your nose, oh. So to imagine then that that's where he was living and eating, and he got up without shame. And he was dirty and stinky. And he said, It's all right. Daddy loves me. That is what we get up when we do. Just the sheer memory of your abundance welcomes you back into it. Anyway, let me welcome everybody who's here because I get a little long winded and so a little excited. But I trust that you will no longer sit in the bosom of ignorance, calling it bliss. You don't know bliss. That's why we think ignorance is bliss, because we don't know true bliss. If we knew true bliss, we would not settle for ignorance. But the knowledge and the application of the knowledge, oh my, that is bliss. Because we don't have to sit and wallow anymore. We can free ourselves. Wealthy Supreme Rico is in the house. Hey, baby. I see you, CJ. CJ. I don't even have any holy water to sprinkle on you, CJ. But I see you, baby. Antho, I see you. Giggity, giggity. I see you, baby. Because that's what he put in the chat. I see you in these YouTube streets. Well, you know Twitter. Twitter is as Twitter does. Tumbleweed Twitter today. Who's here on Fanbase with us? We got Surreal here with us, and we got KZ. I'm sure there were more people here, but I don't look at the screen, but I'm looking at it now. Listen, welcome and thank you for being here and spending this beautiful Tuesday with us, with each other. You know I love you. I do, genuinely. And as you go forth into this world, remember, like the prodigal son, you can go home. You know, Michael Bublé, our Canadian treasure, but you know how it is. I just love you guys, and I appreciate your time. And I know I was a little bit tardy this morning. My apologies. So today, as you go out into this world, when you hear the chime, you see you already had chicken because he was singing already. Mm. He was singing already. That boy, he was crowing away. And let me tell you, he is so patient. Because when I put his food out, the other two will come running. And because I give them each their own food. Mother and baby get their food. He gets his food. Nah, they come out here and they will spill his food. And he just stands there and he will, he'll get annoyed, but he never harms anyone. That's how I know my boy is a gentle boy. But don't get it twisted. He'll fight you. He'll fight you if he needs to. That's my Rue, my sweet Rue. But anywho, let me get the chime, okay? Because I'm behind this morning. I'm a little bit behind, but we aight. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wealthy Supreme Rico, if you're still here, are you still here? Drop something in the chat and let me know if you're still here. And if you are still here, send me some information. My link tree is at the bottom of this video. Send me an email and I'll be there with bells on. I always take advantage of every opportunity to share the principles. Oh, yes, I do. Let me know if you're still here. Let me put the chime away.
Good morning, everyone. KZ,
Good morning, Miss Honey. Yeah. Morning, my sweet honey. Yeah, Wealthy Supreme Rico. Send me an email. You'll find the link in my link tree. There's an envelope. You just push it and you can email me and send me the information, time and place, and I'll be there. You did? I have not seen anything, dearest. Let me close Twitter. Twitter, peace out. Let's click on that. I don't even have you know how you have a little envelope? Whatever way is easiest for you to communicate with me. I'm looking in here right now in my messages and I don't see anything from you. Yeah, I don't see anything. I will always, and here's the thing, once I see a message, I always respond, yeah? Um, I do. But no, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything. So yeah, I'll wait to hear from you and then we'll take it from there. We'll definitely take it from there. All right, Wealthy Supreme Rico. I'm going to close YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok now. You know I'm on fan base for at least 10 minutes because I got to get ready for work. I got to feed the chickens. I got to feed my babies because those guys are going to be out there roaming in a minute. But yeah, I'll wait to hear from you, dearest. All right? So peace. Peace, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. You know I love you.